The Nevada sun bled across the horizon like an open wound, staining the desert sky in molten orange and bruised purple. Heat shimmered above the scrubland, and the wind moved without a sound, carrying nothing but dust. At the edge of Pahrump, where homes gave way to desolation, a 2.5-acre compound stood like an iron scar against the sand. Its fence stretched 10 feet high, crowned with barbed steel. Behind it lay cages, dark silhouettes of wire and rust, silent monuments to a kingdom of predators. A patrol car crunched up the gravel drive. 2 deputies stepped out, boots grinding on stone. Their faces showed no fear, only a professional tension, the kind that builds when something feels wrong before you know why. The gate ahead hung ajar, swaying on its hinges with a low, metallic groan. The sound carried in the still air like a warning dot. There should have been noise here. The wee rasp of cages dragged across dirt, the wet slap of meat tossed to hungry mouths, and most of all, the roar, the deep, bone-shaking thunder of lions that once ruled this desert night. Instead, there was nothing. Silence pressed against them like a heavy hand. This was not peace. It was absence. The deputies moved cautiously, hands hovering near their weapons, not from duty but from instinct. Something about the quiet gnawed at them. Nature does not give silence freely. When predators fall silent, it means only one thing. Something has broken the order. They stepped through the gate. The smell came first, not sharp, not obvious, but faint, metallic, hanging at the edge of awareness. The scent of blood, carried, thin in the desert breeze. A sound followed, a low, steady hum. Flies, gathering where death had already staked its claim. The cages loomed larger now. Steel bars, scratched and bent from years of restless claws. Inside, shadows shifted. Massive bodies lay stretched in the fading light, their fur glowing like burnished gold. The lions were there, sprawled on the dirt, their bellies full, unnaturally calm. Their amber eyes flicked open, unbothered, unthreatened. The stillness was wrong. Lions, apex predators sculpted by evolution to dominate, rarely rest this quietly in unison. A male lion can weigh over 400 pounds, muscle coiled, like a spring, its roar echoing 5 miles through open savanna. Its bite, 650 pounds of pressure, can snap a zebra's spine. Its claws, 4 inches long, tear hide and bone with ease. These facts, known to any zoologist, whispered through the deputies' minds without being spoken. Here, in this silence, the biology felt closer, like something lurking just beyond the reach of law and control. One deputy raised his binoculars. His vision sharpened on the cage floor. Something pale caught the dying light. Not rock, not bone of an animal. Smaller, human. He lowered the glasses, his breath caught. The silence no longer felt empty. It felt final. A line crossed, an agreement broken. The wild had spoken, and man had not survived the answer. In that moment, one question pressed against the silence. What happens when the illusion of control shatters? When the wild no longer respects the walls built to contain it? And the desert, heavy with heat and dread, gave no reply. The desert night deepened. Stars pushed through the fading colors of dusk, and the compound at the edge of Pahrump lay under a sky as ancient as the predators inside its cages. The silence, from earlier, still hung heavy, and with it, a truth that stretched far beyond Nevada's borders, a truth about man and beast, and the fragile illusion that binds them together. For centuries, humans have convinced themselves that devotion, intelligence, and affection could soften the wild. We take predators into our homes, raise them, name them, call them family. We mistake their stillness for trust, their purring for affection, their playfulness for love. Yet beneath those gestures lies something older than civilization itself. Instinct, sharpened by millions of years, sleeps quietly beneath the surface, waiting. This is the fragile contract between man and beast, a contract built not on understanding but on arrogance. We tell ourselves we have control, but control is only an illusion, a paper shield against teeth designed to tear and claws built to rip. A lion does not think in terms of loyalty. It does not recognize gratitude. It does not weigh kindness against violence. Its world is primal: hunger, opportunity, survival. Consider this. A lion's brain is wired for dominance and predation. Its eyes, golden and unblinking, are designed to lock on movement. Its senses can detect weakness before a human even knows they've revealed it. A predator does not ask permission. It does not hesitate. The moment the line between caretaker and prey blurs, instinct takes over. And yet, time and again, we try. We chain the wild. We place it behind fences. We convince ourselves it belongs to us. We build relationships out of routine, feeding schedules, soothing voices, repeated touches. Each repetition convinces us we've closed the gap between species. But the gap was never closed. It was only bridged temporarily on terms we never truly set. Al Abel's life was a testament to this belief. He spoke to his lions as if they were children. He gave them food, shelter, and devotion. He believed love made him part of their pride. But a pride is not a family. It is a hierarchy. One shift in routine, one misstep, one drop of blood, and the order changes. Experts have warned this for decades. You can tame, but you cannot domesticate. A domesticated animal is changed by generations of breeding. A predator like Panthera leo, the African lion, or Panthera tigris, the tiger, is unchanged by human affection. Their DNA is ancient, unbroken. Their instincts are waiting. Al Abel ignored that warning, not because he was blind, but because he chose to believe. To him, every purr was love, every glance trust, every calm evening proof that his bond was unbreakable. But the truth is simpler, colder. He was not in command of the wild. He was living inside its patience. And patience, like silence, does not last forever. So the question hangs, sharp as a claw over flesh. Can you ever truly tame a predator? Or are you only a guest in its cage, living on borrowed time, waiting for the moment instinct reclaims what love cannot erase? The night wind whispered through the bars, carrying no answer, only the quiet certainty that time and instinct would decide. Morning in Pahrump began with a harsh desert light, the kind that bleached color from everything it touched. But on the edge of town, behind 10-foot fences and steel cages, one man woke long before the sun had cleared the horizon. At 45, Al Abel was unlike anyone else in this dusty settlement of drifters and retirees. While others tended small gardens or sought quiet solitude, Abel carved out a kingdom of fur, bone, and steel. Every dawn, he carried heavy buckets of raw meat across the dirt, his boots sinking into sand as lions paced behind bars. Their golden eyes followed every step, not with malice but with the sharp awareness of predators that never forget what they are. Abel spoke to them as he worked. Soft, low tones, words more for himself than for them. He believed they understood. He believed they loved him back. The lions pressed against the wire, their rumbling purrs filling the compound. To Abel, that sound was music, the bass note of devotion, the heartbeat of family. Neighbors whispered about him. To some he was an eccentric, reckless, obsessed, a man gambling daily with his life. To others, he was fearless, a rare soul who had achieved what most only dreamed of, coexistence with the untamable. He invited locals to visit, charging a small fee to watch him move among cages. They came, drawn by curiosity, and watched with awe as Abel strode within arm's reach of predators that could crush him in seconds. His calm posture, his unflinching steps, gave the illusion that he was in command. But control was only an illusion. A lion's purr may sound like affection, but biologically it is communication. Contentment, perhaps, or a reminder of dominance. Its meaning is not love, it is instinct. A full-grown male weighing over 400 pounds radiates power in every sinew. Its jaws are capable of snapping a man's neck in a single bite. Its claws, retracted until needed, extend like curved knives, each stroke designed to grip, to tear, to end. Yet Abel moved among them with pride. He fed them, cared for them, and memorized every habit. He knew which lion approached the gate first, which preferred to rest in the shadows, which bared teeth when hungry. He spoke of them like a father speaks of children, by name, by personality, by quirk. His life revolved around their needs. They were not his pets. They were his purpose. But behind the devotion, a darker truth coiled. Abel was building his life on a foundation of instincts that would never bend to human love. Visitors left his compound with stories of wonder, how one man had conquered fear, how he had found kinship in the eyes of beasts. Abel himself believed it. Each day, without incident, hardened his faith. Each quiet night convinced him that bonds of affection could rewrite millions of years of evolution. But the lions saw him differently. To them, he was not master, not father, not king. He was provider, the one who brought meat, the one who walked their borders with confidence, the one who was tolerated until the moment he wasn't. The rumble of a lion's purr may have sounded like love to Abel. To the lions, it was simply nature speaking in its oldest language. And nature never changes. Its tongue. For now Abel believed he was safe inside his kingdom of cages. But cracks were already forming, and soon the desert would remind him, trust is fragile, and in the eyes of a predator, trust lasts only until hunger, instinct, or opportunity says otherwise. The desert afternoon burned hot and unforgiving. Heat shimmered above the sand, bending light into waves. Beyond the chain-link fence the lions lay in the dirt, their golden coats glowing against the barren earth. They looked calm, even lazy, but beneath that stillness was something ancient, power coiled, waiting. A lion is not a creature of gentleness. It is sculpted for dominance, refined through millions of years of survival. A single swipe of its paw can shatter bone. A roar can roll across the savannah for 5 miles. A thunderclap that marks territory and inspires fear. Its bite force is 650 pounds per square inch, strong enough to crush a spine with ease. Nearby tigers prowl their cages in solitary silence. Larger than lions, stealthier, heavier. A Siberian tiger can weigh 600 pounds, moving with the quiet grace of an ambush killer. It strikes not with warning but with sudden violence. Its muscles coil, its claws extend, and within seconds prey is brought down. These are apex predators, engines of survival shaped by time. Nothing about them is accidental. Every muscle, every tooth, every instinct has been sharpened for one purpose: to kill. And yet, in captivity, they can seem almost affectionate. A handler who raises them from cubs might experience gestures that feel like love. A nudge of the head, the rasp of a tongue, the deep vibration of a purr. But these are not proof of devotion. They are instinctive behaviors, echoes of communication within the pride. Experts warn against mistaking them for something human. What looks like love is only tolerance. What feels like loyalty is only routine. Still, Abel believed. To him, the lions were individuals. He spoke of them the way others speak of friends, by quirks, by moods, by habits. One was shy at feeding. Another liked to sleep near the gate. He gave them names, told stories about them, and described their personalities as if they were people. He blurred the line between man and beast until the statistics, the facts, the warnings became background noise. But the numbers did not lie. 400 pounds of lion muscle does not yield to affection. 600 pounds of tiger sinew does not bend to kindness. Instinct does not disappear. It only waits. The wild was not erased by Abel's devotion. It was only patient. The predators tolerated his presence. They accepted his routines. They let him walk the fences with his buckets of meat. But tolerance is not trust, and patience is not safety. There is a truth about predators that every handler must face. They only need to win once. One mistake, one distraction, one small crack in the ritual, and instinct surges forward like lightning. Years of routine vanish in seconds. Bonds built in affection crumble against the weight of survival. Abel knew the science. He knew the risks. But over time, knowledge dulled into repetition. His faith in his bond became stronger than his fear. He believed he was more than a provider. He believed he was part of the pride. But predators do not share illusions. They live by rules older than memory. The sun sank lower, shadows stretching long across the cages. The lions shifted in the dirt, their eyes glowing in the fading light. They looked calm. They looked tame. But beneath the stillness, nature waited. And nature does not wait forever. The desert dusk stretched long shadows across the compound. The cages, once alive with sound, now carried an edge of unease. It began subtly, almost invisible, like hairline fractures in glass. At first no one noticed, but the cracks were there, spreading quietly, and in the world of predators, nothing goes unseen. One evening during feeding, a lion growled longer than usual. The sound was low, guttural, not the quick complaint of hunger but something heavier. Abel brushed it off. To him it was just mood, but to the lion, it was a test, an assertion. A reminder of power. Neighbors began to whisper, their concern carried. Through the small desert town, the smell drifted more strongly now, the stench of raw meat, of predators living too close. Some admitted they felt uneasy at night, lying awake as the roars rolled across the valley. They were used to the sound, but lately it felt different, more insistent, more primal. Inside the compound, Abel had once been meticulous. Every latch double-checked, every gate secured. His discipline was survival, but years of routine had dulled the edge. A lock left hanging a moment too long, a back turned at the wrong second, a pause in vigilance, so small it barely registered to him. To his lions it was signal. Predators are built to read weakness. A pride notices hesitation. A pause, a slip in dominance. In the wild, such moments determine survival. Instinct interprets them without mercy. A faltering leader is challenged. A moment of vulnerability becomes opportunity. For Abel, these lapses seemed trivial, but to the lions, they were the cracks that let instinct seep through. The balance between man and beast is always fragile. Abel believed years of survival meant security. He believed his bond made him untouchable. But survival does not prove mastery. It proves only that chance has not yet run its course. Confidence, in his case, was not protection. It was overconfidence, a blindness to risk born from repetition. He walked the compound with the swagger of routine, unaware of the eyes that studied him differently now. Eyes that belonged not to companions, but to predators measuring boundaries. To a lion, even a caretaker can become prey. All it takes is a shift in context, a stumble, a scent, a drop of blood. Scientists warn of this paradox. Captive lions may seem calm, but their instincts remain sharp. Stress, hunger, or even the smallest change in environment can awaken their primal response. A growl is not just noise, it is a line drawn in the sand. A prolonged stare is not affection, it is a calculation. In the wild, hesitation can end a life. Behind bars, nothing changes. But Abel refused to see it. To him, the growls, the stares, the subtle changes were nothing. He believed his years had earned him a place among them. He believed familiarity meant trust. But the audience, watching from the safety of distance, sees what he cannot. This is not security. It is a countdown. The desert twilight deepened, the compound slipping into shadow. The lions moved with quiet weight, circling, watching, waiting. Abel carried on as always, his faith blinding him to the truth. In the kingdom he built, the cracks were spreading, and predators never ignore weakness when it appears. The sun dipped low over the Nevada desert, painting the horizon in streaks of fire. Shadows stretched long across the cages, draping the compound in a restless gloom. Inside, the lions stirred, their instincts tuned to dusk. For them, this was the hunting hour. For Abel, it was just another evening chore. He moved with the practiced ease of routine. The bucket swung heavy in his hand. The gate clanged softly as he secured it. He had done these tasks thousands of times. Confidence guided his steps, but confidence can turn to blindness. 1 second of distraction was all it took. Perhaps he bent to lift a tool. Perhaps he turned his back too long. The details are lost to time. But the result was certain. A lion lunged. 400 pounds of muscle exploded into motion, silent, until the moment of impact. Abel hit the ground, the breath torn from his chest. Dust rose around him, carrying with it the copper scent of blood. That smell was a trigger. To humans, blood is alarm. To lions, it is invitation. Instinct sharpened by millennia roared awake. 1 strike became 2, then many. The pride descended as one body, driven not by anger but by competition. In the wild, the scent of blood means survival, and hesitation means death. The enclosure erupted in chaos. Snarls rattled the bars. Claws tore through flesh and fabric. The sound of bone snapping cracked through the desert air like dry wood under pressure. The animals Abel had raised, spoken to, and trusted were now united in frenzy. Moment of stillness. There was no malice in it, no hatred, only instinct. The ancient code written into every nerve and sinew. Experts explain this chain reaction clearly. Lions live and hunt in prides driven by social hierarchy and group survival. When one attacks, others follow. The frenzy is not cruelty. It is compulsion. Blood ignites competition. and the struggle turns violent. Each lion seeks dominance. Each seeks the resource before them. Even a handler, even a provider becomes no different from prey once the trigger is set. Abel fought, perhaps only for seconds. But against such power, seconds meant nothing. A single paw could break bone. A single bite could end breath. His years of devotion, his bond of trust evaporated under the weight of primal instinct. The lion's roars rose into the evening, a sound both magnificent and horrifying. It was the same sound that had once thrilled Abel, the music he called family. But now it was the sound of his end. Minutes erased years. Trust dissolved in dust and blood. Abel was no longer the caretaker, no longer the father, no longer the king of his cages. To the pride, he was only one thing: meat. The desert grew darker, the sun sliding below the horizon. Inside the compound, the frenzy slowed. The lions, bellies full, settled into silence. Calm returned, but it was not peace. It was aftermath, the kind of stillness that follows only after chaos has finished its work. And in that silence lay the truth Abel had spent his life denying. The wild cannot be tamed. It only waits patient, until instinct decides the moment to remind us. The night crept in, quiet and absolute. Soon others would come searching for him. They would find the silence first, and then the signs of what had happened. But for Abel, it was already over. The desert night had settled in cold and still, stars burning sharp above Pahrump. At a small house on the edge of town, a phone rang again and again, its echo swallowed by the silence of the compound. Abel's friend tightened her grip on the receiver. He never ignored calls. His life revolved around his animals, chained to their routines as much as they were chained to him. Unease hardened into dread. Something was wrong. She called the sheriff. Minutes later, headlights cut across the dirt road, beams bouncing against steel fences and shadowed cages. Deputies Dave Fell and John Rowe stepped out, gravel crunching beneath their boots. Their eyes fell immediately on Abel's truck, parked, keys still dangling in the ignition. It was as if he had simply vanished. The compound seemed quiet, too quiet. Lions lounged inside the largest cage, their bellies swollen, their bodies stretched across the ground. They looked calm, too calm. Their amber eyes flicked lazily toward the deputies, not with hunger, but with the dull patience of animals already fed. One deputy's instincts prickled. Something in the silence felt wrong. He scanned the dirt, his flashlight beam slicing across tools and buckets scattered near the enclosure. Then it froze on something pale, small, out of place. A finger. The air thickened. His throat tightened. As he followed the beam further, near the bucket lay a shovel, half buried in the sand, and scattered nearby fragments no one wanted to believe belonged to a man. Backup was called. Soon, floodlights bathed the compound in harsh white glare, banishing the shadows but not the dread. Investigators moved slowly along the perimeter, every step revealing more. A tooth glinting in the dust, a splinter of bone, jagged and red, remnants of a life consumed. Breathing silence. The lions shifted slightly, their tails flicking lazily, their bodies heavy with the weight of their feast. Their calmness was chilling. It was not guilt, not defiance. It was instinct satisfied. The deputies, men hardened by years of service, felt their professionalism crack. The realization pressed down with unbearable weight. Abel was gone. Not missing, not hiding, not hurt. Gone. The man who had spent his life building this place, caring for these animals, had vanished into them. Science explains the aftermath with brutal clarity. Lions in the wild consume nearly every part of their prey. Flesh, organs, even bones are broken down by their powerful jaws. What remains is scattered, small fragments, overlooked in the frenzy of survival. To predators, there is no reverence for the dead, no distinction between provider and prey, only the fulfillment of hunger. But for those standing at the cage that night, the explanation did not ease the horror. The man who called himself a father to lions had become nothing more than a memory written in blood and bone. Breathing silence. In the glare of the floodlights, the cages looked less like a sanctuary and more like monuments to hubris. The illusion Abel had built, the belief that love could erase instinct, lay shattered in the dirt. The desert wind moved through the compound, rattling the fence like a whisper of finality. Abel had believed he was part of their pride. In the end, The pride had decided otherwise. The deputies stood in silence, staring into the eyes of predators that now held a terrible secret. And as the night deepened, one truth became clear. This was no longer a sanctuary. It was a crime scene. The morning after the discovery, the desert town of Pahrump awoke to a silence broken not by lions but by the rumble of satellite vans. News had spread overnight. By dawn, headlines screamed across the nation. Lion keeper devoured by his own pets. Cameras lined the dirt roads leading to the compound. Reporters shouted questions into the hot desert air. Their microphones pointed toward the steel gates that only hours earlier had held a private kingdom of predators. Lenses zoomed in on cages, on claw marks gouged into the bars, on the scattered tools left behind. The story was too shocking to ignore. Part tragedy, part spectacle, part warning. Animal rights activists seized on the moment. To them, this was proof written in blood. Wild predators, they argued, do not belong in private hands. No matter how much love a handler believes he gives, no matter how strong the bond appears, instinct will always prevail. They spoke of safety, of animal welfare, of laws that must change. Others saw a different story. They mourned Abel as a man consumed by passion, a figure who had lived his dream and paid the ultimate price for it. To them, he was not reckless but tragic, a man whose devotion blurred into obsession, who tried to bridge the impossible gap between man and beast. The lions themselves became unwilling symbols. Tranquilizer darts hissed through the air, dropping one animal after another. Their massive bodies slumped to the ground, muscles twitching as the drugs took hold. For the investigators, it was procedure. For the cameras, it was theater. The roar of predators was replaced by the thud of their collapse. Each dart carried the weight of finality. In the following days, debates raged across television screens and in the pages of newspapers. Experts explained the biology of predators, their instincts hardwired through millions of years. They reminded the public that even in captivity, even when raised from birth, lions and tigers remain apex hunters. They cannot be unmade. Yet beyond the noise of headlines and debates, Pahrump itself held a quieter memory. Locals remembered Abel as an eccentric neighbor who walked his land with buckets of meat at dawn. They remembered the roars that rolled across the desert night, sometimes terrifying, sometimes comforting in their constancy. To them, his death was not only national news, it was personal. Weeks later, the compound was dismantled, fences cut down, cages removed. The ground, once stamped by paws and boots, was left bare. Slowly, the desert began its work of reclamation. Weeds sprouted where enclosures had stood. Sand filled the grooves of heavy machinery. The kingdom Abel had built was erased, as though it had never been. Breathing silence. All that remained were stories. The tale of the man who thought love could tame the wild. The tale of lions who reminded the world what they had always been. And in that fading memory, the reflection grew sharper. How thin is the line we draw between civilization and instinct? How fragile is the belief that love can rewrite nature's oldest laws? The desert wind swept over the empty lot, carrying no answers. Only the echo of a question that lingered in the silence. Was Abel a fool who ignored the warnings, or a martyr to the dream of living among beasts? The world debated. The desert moved on. And the story was not finished. One final truth remained, waiting in the shadows of reflection. Dawn returned to the Nevada desert, pale light spilling over sand and stone. The compound was gone, dismantled, and silent. The fences cut down, the cages hauled away. Only the desert remained, endless, indifferent, eternal. Yet in that emptiness lingered a question, one Abel had wrestled with his entire life. Can love ever truly tame the wild? Abel believed it could. Every morning, he looked into the golden eyes of predators and saw family. He believed devotion could close the gap between species, that care and constancy could rewrite instincts carved into bone. In his mind, he was not a keeper, not a jailer. He was part of the pride. But nature had other laws. To a lion, affection does not exist in the way humans imagine it. The purr, the nudge of a head, the heavy body pressed against the bars. These are not acts of love. They are instinctual gestures, echoes of behavior meant for survival and dominance. Biologists remind us that predators are incapable of loyalty in the human sense. Their world is defined by hunger, opportunity, and the unbreakable rhythm of instinct. Abel ignored this truth, or perhaps he chose not to believe it. He saw his bond as proof, his years of survival as evidence that his love had meaning. But instinct does not bend to affection. It waits, patient and quiet, until the moment comes to remind us of its power. Pause. The end was not betrayal. The lions did not turn on him out of malice or hatred. They did what they had been shaped to do. Blood in the dust, weakness revealed, a frenzy ignited. To them, Abel was not father or master. He was meat. This is not cruelty. It is not murder. It is nature. Cold, final, absolute. Pause. And so Abel's dream ended, not with the peace of devotion, but with the inevitability of instinct. He did not just live among his lions, he became part of them. His body was broken down, consumed, recycled, into the very creatures he had given his life to. In the harshest way imaginable, he achieved unity with them. But what does that unity mean? Was he victim or participant in the wild's unflinching cycle? Was his end a tragedy or the fulfillment of the path he chose? The people of Pahrump remembered him as eccentric, fearless, sometimes foolish, sometimes admirable. The nation remembered him as a headline, a cautionary tale about the dangers of private ownership of predators. But the desert remembered nothing. The desert simply reclaimed what was left. And still the question lingers, sharp as a claw in the dark. Do we ever tame the wild? Or do we only borrow time, protected by thin fences and fragile routines, until instinct decides otherwise? Pause. For Abel, the answer came one winter evening in 1996. For the rest of us, the question remains. We stare into the eyes of predators, captivated, drawn, believing for a moment that we understand them. We mistake awe for control, but control is only an illusion, and illusions always shatter. The dawn brightened over the desert, spilling light across empty earth. Abel's cages were gone, his lions removed, his name reduced to a story retold in whispers and warnings. Yet his fate remains a haunting reminder of the truth he tried to defy. The wild is never ours. The wild only waits. And when the waiting ends, it leaves nothing behind but silence.